Welcome to the Cast Blast Grill Chill podcast with Jeremy and Trever, the podcast that's all about hunting, fishing, grilling, and chilling out and having a good time in the outdoors. Hey guys, welcome to Cast Blast Grill Chill podcast number 16. I just wanted to take a quick minute here and record a quick opening for you guys and announce that Stephen Hewitt was the winner of our giveaway on our Facebook page. And stay tuned, we'll be having another giveaway soon. On today's podcast, we talk with Josh Fulcher of East Texas Hunting Club. We will be collaborating with Josh at East Texas Hunting Club to bring you more content. We have several more interviews lined up, and send us a message if there's anyone you would like us to interview. Also, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, and also go like our Facebook page. Just search Cast Blast Grill Chill to get to us, along with East Texas Hunting Club to get to Josh's page. And also, please like, subscribe, and rate us 5 stars if you can. It really would help us out. And make sure to check out me and Trevor on Facebook and Instagram. We're Cast Blast Grill Chill on just about everything. Thanks for listening, everyone. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, Trevor, and we're rolling. And everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Josh Fulcher. He's I guess you're the founding member of East Texas Hunting Club?
That is correct. Yeah. Back, I think it was November 8th, 2013 is whenever I decided I was driving down I-35, headed up to Dallas, and said, you know what? I said, all these guys have their East Texas, or they have their Facebook page talking about, West Texas Hunting Club and Central Texas Hunting Club. I was like, what about East Texas? And that's where it's spawned.
Now, Josh, did you go and search for East Texas Hunt and see what came up right then and there?
I did, but to be honest, there was the pages that were out there, the content that was on there wasn't what I was really looking for, because they were still had a bunch of people from West Texas post and Central Texas and Oklahoma, and it was almost like those pages just allowed whoever they wanted, just to get the numbers. And, so my thinking was, with East Texas Hunting Club was, hey, every portion of the state has their own page. Why not East Texas? Specifically East Texas. Whenever I first started adding members and accepting members, it was, if you didn't live in East Texas, you wasn't getting approved. Like you could live in San Antonio, and I'm sorry, you're not getting approved. But then I started finding that a lot of Central Texas guys and even West Texas guys come out here to East Texas now. Like I was getting all kinds of personal messages and everything through Facebook, and these guys were like, "Hey man, I hunt in Sam Houston National Forest or in the David Crockett National Forest. Why aren't you letting me in?" And it was kind of like a light switch, and we just blew up from there.
There you go. How many members you have on your page now?
As of today, we're just under 9,000. So we're up there. We're growing pretty quickly. The first couple of years, like I said, just because I was declining everybody and going through everybody with an extra fine comb, before I added them to the page, the first couple of years, I think we were sitting less than 1,000 for 2 years, and then I finally decided to kind of start taking the personal messages that people were sending me serious, and hey, if they live in West Texas, and they drive all the way across the state, which it's 12, 13-hour drive, if they drive all the way out here to hunt, why can't they be a part of it? And and now it's expanded to Oklahoma and western and even eastern Louisiana. And we've got a lot more people that hunt East Texas than just our East Texas residents. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And the content that I've seen on the page, it's quality content. I mean, a lot of guys are asking some really hard questions and getting some really great answers for it. I mean, it varies from everything from duck hunting and fishing to I think in whitetail season, it's focused on whitetail quite a bit, but that's a huge part of East Texas. So I find it really, really helpful for me to just be able to see on there, maybe an answer to a question that I didn't even know I had yet, but I want to know the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the guys and girls, let me just make this disclaimer now. Whenever I say guys, women, you ought to know me by now, especially if you're a member by East Texas Hunting Club. You know that I'm nowhere near discriminating against you girls that are out there putting in the work and even outshining some of these these men that call themselves hunters. So some of the guys that we have on East Texas Hunting Club, man, they're phenomenal. I've learned so much since we started East Texas Hunting Club, and that was kind of the thought of everybody else or everywhere else in Texas has a Facebook group to call their own. Why not East Texas? East Texas used to, like, even if you watch some of these TV shows, everybody always wants to talk about South Texas or West Texas or up in the Panhandle, but nobody ever gives a mention to East Texas. Why not? I mean, you guys are members. Y'all have seen some of the great deer that's come out of there. I mean, we've had some 160s, 170s, 180s killed out of East Texas, low fence.
Oh yeah, I mean, East Texas historically, like before the boom in West Texas, was known for producing big deer. I mean, that's where I first learned the term swamp donkey, and I've seen some monster deer harvested out of East Texas. But the one thing I'll give the guys in East Texas is they're clannish. They protect their spots. And, if somebody kills a big deer, the guys around there, they know that somebody killed a big deer, but they don't run around and advertise it like those South Texas boys do, which, I mean, I got to give them credit. Down in South Texas, they grow some big deer. And for a long time, that was a hidden gem too. But, East Texas managed to keep it quiet until I'd probably say here real recently.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think you're right about the clannishness towards East Texas, and I think that's why we might fit in so well. And Josh, the first time we actually talked on the phone, you had mentioned after listening to some of the podcasts that you really liked how secret we kept our stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll fit in all right.
Yeah, I was actually, like I was telling you guys, on our conference call that we had prior to leading to this podcast, I was trying to decipher, between some of the code, and the hidden terms that you guys were using. I was like, okay, these guys got to be hunting here. And then I talked to y'all, and it's like, nope, I was completely wrong. I was like, hey, y'all do what you're supposed to do. You're sending everybody else in an opposite direction. So,
yeah, when we actually first started recording the podcast, and maybe it's a couple that haven't made it onto the airwaves yet, but we were trying to give code names to each one of our places, and it just wasn't working out because you were getting too close to actually saying the name of the place.
Right.
And so we just decided to say, this public land or this public land. And it may get confusing at times, but I like that we keep it a secret.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if we went out and we said, that, the St. Houston National Forest is king to a bunch of 180-inch deer, then, what's going to happen? You're going to have a bunch of guys, that have never hunted public land before. They're going to come out there and they're going to expect to kill a 180-inch deer. Which we all know that's not the case. I mean, you have to put in the time, work, effort. It's not the guys that kill giants out here in East Texas public land. These guys aren't out there, from October 1st to, January 13th or whatever muzzleloader season ends. They look at this as a year-round, running cameras, scouting trails, looking for sheds, finding bedding areas. Whenever deer season's not in effect, these guys are out there, they're putting boots on the ground, finding where these big deer live. And whenever bow season comes around or beginning of rifle season comes around, that's why they're so successful right off the bat. They know where these deer are, and they go in there and they take advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. The guys, and I would say that's not just true over there in East Texas. I'd say it's true pretty much anywhere. The guys who kill big deer put in the work. And it's a 365 day a year, passion for those guys. It's probably the reason why I've never killed a big deer, because I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I'm too busy chasing deer and ducks and fish and, contemplating chasing turkeys and everything else in the world, just because I don't ever want my season to end.
Yeah, I kind of feel myself getting sucked more and more into the whitetail realm. Last year it was waterfowl and waterfowl hard. Shot my deer last year, and then it was more waterfowl. I didn't put nearly the work in that I did this year, and I gotta tell you, for such little reward, I've never had more fun in the woods, just putting in the hours and watching deer. And, did have an encounter with one that didn't go the way I planned, but yeah, I think I'm getting the whitetail bug a little more this year.
Man, once it bites you hard, and it's super hard to get away.
Yeah, it's definitely an obsession.
I can relate.
You have one of your own.
Yeah, I'm a little deep in that waterfowl world, but I was hooked on whitetails for years and years and years and years, and it just never rang that bell 100% for me. I still love it. Come October 1st, I'm sitting in a tree stand with my bow, and opening day a rifle, it's always duck season, but I always put the duck stuff away, to go make sure I'm out there, chasing whitetails. But I just don't have the patience to sit there in a tree stand for weeks on end, 8 hours a day. It just, oh man, it just doesn't ring that big for me. And maybe the day I see that, 160 inch, perfect mainframe 8 walk out there, maybe I'll change. But, looking at forked horns and basket racks and, 98 inch deer, it just really,
No, I completely understand. I know exactly where you are right now, because up until 2015, January 16th of 2015, my wife is big marathon runner, personal trainer, and she was running the Chevron Houston Marathon that weekend. If I remember correctly, black powder season didn't end until I think like the 17th or something like that year. But that particular day was technically my last day to hunt. I had hunted this, what turned out to be a 13-point, 132 inch, mainframe 11, but had a couple of kickers on the backside. But I had hunted him all year long without ever seeing him in person. He was completely nocturnal throughout the year. And on the last day, January 15th, with about 20 minutes left of daylight, he stepped out with another 8-point, a 6-point, and a couple of does. And I was able to get him with my muzzleloader. 20 minutes left of daylight. Ever since I was able to take that deer, he consumed me from bow season through general season through muzzle. Like, I went out and bought that CVA Acura just to chase him for 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
So
it completely consumes you. And, especially, I think the elusiveness of the whitetail, especially the whitetail buck, is one of the main reasons that it draws people in so much, because it's this obtainable goal, but it just stays far enough away that you can't quite reach it. And when you finally get it, it's just that much more sweet.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better.
Hey, Josh, I have a question for you. You kind of know, if you've followed us for a while, which I think you have, me and Trevor, we're self-taught hunters. We're first generation hunters in our family. How did you get introduced, into hunting? Do you come from a hunting family? Are you self-taught? How'd you get into it?
Man, it's kind of a not really weird story, but my grandfather, he was always a big public land hunter. Never, as far as I know, he's never leased a property before in his life, and he grew up, and even into his adulthood, he hunted the same Houston National Forest. And his son, my uncle Tim, hey Uncle Tim, Uncle Tim and his buddy Dwayne, they used to always run beagles for rabbits. And, me and Uncle Tim and my older brother Lee, and we'd always get out there with Dwayne's dogs, and we started out rabbit hunting with beagles. And, I can remember that, I guess probably one of the first times that we went hunting, it was me and my older brother. We were living in the house that I grew up in, and man, that had to put me at 5 years old or less. And me and my older brother, we pretty much had free range to kind of go out and, run, do whatever we wanted to. I think we grew up on like 3 acres or whatever, but there was a big piece of property behind us. And my older brother Lee, he actually shot a squirrel. It was the only squirrel that we had. It was the first hunting trip that I can actually remember. Lee had shot a squirrel, and I told him, I was like, Leah's like, let me shoot it. And being the older brother, he's like, yeah, nah. he's going to take the shot. But after the squirrel fell out of the tree and went and picked it up, I happened to put it in my pack, and he says, "Don't worry." He's like, "I'll let Dad, let you know, or I'll tell Dad that you shot it." I was like, "Sweet." So we get back to the house, and I was going over there, and I was telling Dad, I was like, "Dad, look at the squirrel that I shot." I wanted Dad to be proud of me, right? I was, 4 or 5 years old, just went and shot my first squirrel, even though I knew that, lying to my dad. And what I didn't know is that my older brother had already told my dad that he shot the squirrel. So Dad's like, "Well, did you shoot that squirrel, or did Lee shoot the squirrel?" And of course, I couldn't lie to my dad anymore. I was like, "Lee shot it, but it wasn't really fully dead, so I shot him again with my little Red Ryder BB gun, and I finished him off." And ever since then, 5 years old, I'm 32 years old now. Ever since then, man, it's eaten me up. We started out small game. My dad never really did a bunch of deer hunting, and we grew up just outside of Cut and Shoot, on 7.5 acres. But our neighbor, Mr. Johnny and Eileen, they had 100 acres back there. They ran cattle, and we'd go out there and we would help them, plant grass and bale hay and everything in the off season. And in return, they'd let us go out there and deer hunt. And that's the place where I killed my first deer. It was a doe with a single shot 20 gauge that my great grandpa left me. Whoever broke into our house and stole all of our guns, and you ended up taking my 20 gauge, I hope you're burning right now. Let's just say that, because that gun meant more to me than anything. But to answer your question, I am, between me and my older brother, we're self-taught. We spend a lot of time out in the woods together, and a lot of time watching TV and learning from these quote unquote professionals. But then whenever you go out to put it in practice, you find that these professionals really aren't the deer hunters that you think they are. So it all becomes boots on the ground and learning on your own.
Yeah, that's for darn sure. I recently wrote a little article about, basically it's called Chasing a Limit, and it comes from, waterfowling. Getting a limit is like what waterfowling is. It's not really about that, but it is about that. That means that means you've done everything right if you've managed a limit. And how when me and Trevor first started out waterfowl hunting, we went down to Academy, bought a dozen mallard decoys, and took our shotguns out there and threw the decoys out in the water. We just imagined that birds were just going to pile in on top of the decoys like the hunting shows. And we happened to watch a bunch of cormorants fly by and a couple ducks fly by, but for the most part, just no birds, to really speak of. We did see birds a couple 100 yards away from where we were, but
right.
But for the most part, it's not like it is on TV.
I think you mentioned in there that we thought it was going to be like a dove hunt, because we'd done plenty of those, and we always loved it, had a blast doing it, but we just thought it was kind of the same thing, just in a bigger scale.
Yeah, it's dove hunting over water. I mean, you just got to be still.
And I do like the way that you worded that, dragging my 13-year-old cousin out with me, and then I think I like that piece, man. It encapsulated how we just kind of did it on a whim, and then it starts consuming us as waterfowl hunters, and once again wrapping back up with, it's definitely an obsession now. Everything about hunting hooks me for some reason. I mean, just every aspect. It doesn't matter the game animal or what it is, but yeah, everything about it.
Yeah, pretty much everything in the outdoors just consumes me. The more time I can spend out from underneath a roof and out in nature and building those memories, that's what it's all about.
Completely agree, 100%. Like I said, my passion is whitetails. But whenever whitetail season ends and squirrel season begins, guess what? I'm going out there and I'm squirrel hunting. But while I'm squirrel hunting, you can bet your paycheck that I'm out there looking for that bedding area, or looking for rubs from that past season.
Looking for sheds.
Yeah, it always comes back to whitetail. And this year, because of we have a couple of good ponds on our deer lease here in Splendora. There's no deer out there, so you you got to go out there and shoot what you can. And we actually have a bunch of woodies and even a few mallards that fly in every once in a while, surprisingly. Walking around that pond trying to get set up on these woodies. I found a little 6-point shed the other day that it's like, really? They're shedding already? And it's like, holy cow, I can't believe it's already almost the end of January. Where did this last season go?
I felt the same exact way, Josh. The same exact way, man. I cannot. This season has gone faster than any other season, and I've spent more days in the woods.
Yeah, it's unreal, man. And it seems like every season just happens to fly by faster and faster and faster. Maybe it's just my age. But
that's the truth is, I'm a little bit older than both of y'all, and I will tell you, as time goes by, it just goes faster. Every year, it seems like it's a few days shorter, and it seems like the older I get, I can spend more and more days actually in the woods, getting out there and doing it, and it just doesn't seem like there's ever enough. It seems like just the other day, me and Trevor were meeting up, at the access road to go hang our bow stands, and then, bow season was over. We were driving out to East Texas to go rifle hunt, and then, I'm flying down to the coast to go early teal, and then it just ends too quick these days, it seems like, and that's why you got to get out there for every season you can, and use those other seasons to factor in for your whatever your passion is, like Josh, and you're going to use squirrel season to hunt sheds and hunt trails and look at rubs and mark on your map, like that's a good bedding area, that's a really heavily traveled trail, I need to hang a camera there, and I do the same thing with ducks. As I'm out there squirrel hunting, I'm like, that's a good little low-lying spot there that holds some water. Need to, watch that first thing in the morning and see if anything flies in there or flies out.
That's it.
Yeah, I can't drive by a pond of any size without slowing the car down and, turning my head the full 90 degrees to just check and see if there's anything in there. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a rain puddle, man. I'm looking to see if there's a bird in it.
Yeah, there might be a duck in there. Yeah, but shoot, my daughter has like the best game eye of anybody I've ever seen. She's 5 years old, and she will spot ducks in ponds, deer in fields. She's like, Daddy, deer. I'm like, where? I don't know. 300 yards out there in the middle of the field, a lone doe standing out there. She'll pick it out.
Well, you did just talk about how old you're getting, man. It might be time to go and, get your eyes checked.
Yeah, between you and the guy I was on that casting blast with this weekend, y'all got to give my poor old eyes a break. I think I'm actually going to have to go get glasses.
Oh man, that's half the part of hunting, right?
Yeah. Well, shoot, guys, let's talk about some recent hunts that we've been doing. I know I saw on East Texas Hunting Club the other day, Josh, that you went out with your muzzleloader out there the weekend before the last weekend of season, I think, and managed to get you a pig.
Yeah, man, this is my last year on this lease. There's some deer out there, but for some reason, whatever it is, I've never hunted a piece of property that works the way that this piece of property does. The deer are out there 100% of the time, and I'll watch them grow as soon as they sprout antlers and watch them all the way through velvet. I'll watch them shed their velvet, and then probably the second week of archery season, they're gone. And it's not just me, it's everybody else on that 4,000 acres that hunts, and they're running cameras. We don't know where they go. They've got to run north or south, but they're not there on that 4,000 acres. We've got a big doe herd out there that stays year round, especially on probably 300 acres that I get to hunt solely. And I run 13 cameras year round out there, and I've never once got a picture of, a buck trailing a doe, a buck breeding a doe group splitting up. The doe group is always there, but yet the doe group that I see on camera, they always produce twins. And it's like, well, why would I want to go out here and take a shot at a doe whenever I know that they produced twins over the last 2 years? It's even though I know I'm getting off the lease, it's like, man, I just can't bring myself to shoot a doe knowing that she produces twins, and most of the time they're twin bucks.
Well, the one thing I would give you on that, and that's just, from stuff that I know, is that not seeing bucks could be actually a sign of having too many does. I know several guys that, have MLD level 3 properties, and they all strive for that 1-to-1 ratio.
Yep.
And, one of the guys was telling me on the place when he first started, it was like a 20-to-1 buck to doe ratio.
Well, running my camera surveys throughout the year, I've come up with we're about 3-to-1. And like I said, I'm fortunate because I'm a bow hunter. Year round through bow season all the way through general season. I don't pick up a rifle. The only time I pick up a rifle is through muzzleloader season for the 2 weeks that we get there, if I still have tags. And obviously for the last 2 years I've still had tags because I've been on this lease.
Yeah.
But so from what I can gather from my trail camera survey, that I run, all year round for the last 2 years, we're around 3-to-1 over there, especially in my area. And, it just seems to me, it's like, okay, well, why can't I catch a picture of a buck trailing a doe, but yet they always end up pregnant. They always end up popping out twins. And it just baffles me. I don't hunt open fields. I don't hunt roads like a lot of the guys do out there on the deer lease. I'm in there in the thick stuff, hanging my lone wolf, and running and gunning on my deer lease like I do on the national forest property. And I just can't figure these things out. So to me, it's actually easier to pattern deer on public land because at least you know where the hunters are.
Yeah, Josh, that was going to be my next question to you was, now that you're saying this is your last season on the deer lease, are you going to go completely public now? Or are you in the market for another lease, or just kind of taking it as it comes?
Well, there's kind of a double-edged sword by not being on a deer lease. Like I said earlier, my daughter's 3.5, and she had a little proud daddy moment. You guys probably read it on East Texas Hunting Club the other day. She woke up, she come and got in bed with us, and it was around 3:00, something like that, 3:30 in the morning. She was having a what I would call a nightmare, but she was telling me, "Daddy, I just can't find that deer." At 3.5, Daddy, I just can't find that deer. And I was like, "It's okay, baby girl. It's like you're going to get some and you're going to lose some." And she went right back to sleep. So
need a little bit of wisdom there. I like it.
Yeah. So on one hand, I know that every time I go to leave, she either asks me, she says, "Daddy, you're going to work or you're going hunting?" She knows what my passion is and what I have to do in order to support the family. And it's either one of the two, either work or deer hunting, or work or going to the woods. So on one hand, yeah, I want to stay on a lease to where I can bring my daughter out there and I don't have to trek 3 miles back deep in the woods to go, bring my daughter to enjoy, deer hunting. So that would be the reason why I would get on a lease next year.
You have any leads on a good lease, or are you out there doing the lease shopping thing?
No, I'm not lease shopping. If I decide to get on a lease, I'm going to be going back to Newton County. I've got several family members, a bunch of cousins that are on a particular lease that's been on there for 18 plus years. And hell, it's probably been 6-7 years ago. I went out there a couple of years straight with those guys, and it's just beautiful, man. Jasper and Newton County are it's some of the best topography, and they got big deer over there and big deer numbers.
Yeah, they definitely do. When I was growing up and when Trevor was still young, we had a place in Polk County there on Lake Livingston, and I'm real familiar with that area out there. And there's a lot of big deer out there, and the biggest thing I found, and it's not just in East Texas, it's pretty much all over Texas, is like getting on a quality lease these days is hard. There's long waiting lists, and it's more of a who game and a how deep are your pocketbooks game. These days it seems like when it comes to leases. I was talking with a guy the other day. He's fresh out of the military, and he's like I'm looking for a lease. He's like, I don't have a lot of money. He's like, but I got about $1,500. I was like, you're in the ballpark for a fair lease. I'm like, you're not going to get on a good lease for $1,500 a gun. I was like, good lease these days probably going to run you $2,500. And he was like, really? Is it that much? I was like, yeah. I was like, in all honesty, if I was you, you seem like a pretty dedicated public land guy. You like to go chase public land. Is what I'd do is I'd keep hunting public, and I'd take that $1,500 and I'd put it in outfitted hunts every year.
Yep. And that's the other side of the coin. So instead of outfitted hunts, I'm looking at buying some out-of-state tags. Kansas and Oklahoma stick out. For the money that I spend on my deer lease every year, which it happens to, my deer lease right now is 15 minutes away from my house. I can be in my stand. I can crawl out of bed and be in my stand within 45 minutes.
Oh man, that's insane. I envy you.
I can't
So
I can't believe that you have a lease that close and you live in Houston, because when I lived in Houston, I hunted for a lease for 4 years and I couldn't touch a lease within 2 hours of Houston for less than $2,500. And I just like, and all the leases that were that price were garbage, trash. You walked out there was, you might get 100 acres to hunt. And even then, you didn't have exclusive hunting rights on those 100 acres. If you weren't there, someone could hunt your stand, hunt your feeder.
yeah, no, and the guys that are on this lease, they're all good buddies of mine for the majority part. We've got 4,000 acres. No, I'm sorry, I've been saying 4,000 acres because I'm thinking of another public land tract. It's actually 6,000 acres. So there's 60 members out there. But
Wow.
you can probably count on two sets of hands the actual number of people that actually get out there and hunt every year. It's pretty incredible the amount of land that goes paid for but doesn't get hunted.
Yeah. And Jeremy, back to what you were saying earlier, it's a game more of who you know. And I would much rather it be who I know, because a lot of times, let's say you get into, you're even paying big bucks for, what's you brought up to be a wonderful lease, and they have all this great management. Then you don't like the guys that are going out there and you don't agree with something they're doing. I would much rather it be, some people that I know are hunting the way I like to hunt, and, that we can all get along, and instead of, paying the big bucks and going somewhere where I'm not going to enjoy myself.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the vast majority of leases, I think the guys that hunt certain ways tend to group together, on those leases. The one thing that I find kind of, just kind of disparaging about the fact that it's more who is the fact that it seems like so many of these guys have, I remember, back in the 90s, you used to be able to lease land from Champion Paper and from, Georgia Pacific and all these other, lumber companies and stuff. And it seems like these hunting clubs have gone through, especially like deep East Texas along the Louisiana line, and basically bought up all the lease rights. And there's just not the land out there to lease like there used to be.
No, you guys are both 100% correct. We're seeing an increase every single year, and both of you guys follow East Texas Hunting Club, and one of the biggest gripes that we have throughout our member base, and myself included, is the cost to get on a deer lease. And it's completely unfortunate because there's so much good acreage out there to hunt, but it almost seems now that these timber companies are going back and looking and seeing that what quality or what caliber of deer are being killed off there every year, and they increase their price every single year. And what it's doing, it's driving it. It's almost creating deer hunting it's extending it to a whole new level, to where now it's a rich man's game. They're trying to get public land, or not public land, but timberland, on the same level as some of these big high fence ranches down in South and West Texas.
Yeah, that was kind of the point I was trying to make, is that, the stuff down in South Texas, that is a rich man's game now. You can't, the average guy, a guy making, 35, 45, 55, even probably $65,000 a year, probably can't afford, if he's got a family and a house and a truck note and everything, probably can't afford to get on a lease down there.
Yep.
And it's kind of sad that kind of access has been taken away from, guys that have been, out there hunting forever, and guys are, just flat out losing their leases, because I know guys that have been on, their families have been on the same leases for 50 years, and it's all of a sudden, the management changes, and next thing, everybody's kicked off, and it reforms up, and, what used to be $1,000 lease and had been, going up a little bit. Now it's a, $4,500 a gun.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I like hunting the public land, man, because I know how much my annual hunting permit's going to be out there.
$48 every year, baby.
Every single year, man. I mean, it might change a little bit in the future, who knows? But for now, I know how much it's going to be, and I know I'm still going to have that property for now. So,
yeah. And on top of that, that $48 goes to lease, actually lease land, for us to hunt on. That's where all those small game leases, all those dove leases that we go hunt, that's where that $48, that's what it goes to.
Well, yeah, exactly. State leasing it back to the landowner.
It helps pay for, all of our field biologists that work for Texas Parks and Wildlife. It goes towards conservation. I thought about discussing this and then, in the podcast and today I was like, do I really want to let this out there? But then, I'm a public land guy now for the last 2-3 years, even though I've had a deer lease, okay, so this year in 2017, even though I have a deer lease, it's 15 minutes down the road from my house. I could be in the stand within 45 minutes. I probably didn't hunt my deer lease 10 times this year, 10 days. The rest of it was public land. And so I got to thinking, I was like, why wouldn't I share this information? So as you guys may have seen on East Texas Hunting Club, I've been looking, to get into turkey hunting this year. I've never once turkey hunted before in my life, but it's like, you know what? Hey, it's a way to extend my season. I can still get out there and bow hunt, and I can do it on public land. I can do it with the $48 permit that I bought. But where do I start? So I got on Texas Parks and Wildlife website, and I started looking around for their biologists. And what did I find? I found a list of email addresses, and I started sending off emails. Hey, my name's Josh Fulcher, and I live here in Montgomery County, and we have a non-huntable population of turkeys here around my general area. Can you guys give me some input on the harvest numbers from 2017? Here's the counties that I'm looking at hunting. Can y'all give me any input on these counties or these select WMAs or, these particular public land areas that I'm thinking about hunting? And what happened today, I got an email back from one of the biologists, and he gave me a list of how many numbers of turkeys were killed from each county. Because in Texas, most of the time, most counties, from the way that I understand it, you're only allowed one gobbler over here in East Texas because of the population and the habitat.
Yep.
The reason why that is the reason why you can kill turkeys in deer season and stuff over in South Texas, Central Texas, is that's actually Rio Grande turkeys. Yep. You're only allowed one eastern. Yeah, you're only allowed one eastern turkey, which were restocked a couple of times now out there in, Polk, Montgomery, Houston, Trinity, Jasper, all throughout there. They've done a couple different turkey stockings, and it just hasn't ever really took off yet.
Yeah, I think that's a really hard thing to do, is just with turkeys being such a fragile bird like they are. I don't think anybody ever really has great success, raising, turkeys and releasing them into the wild, or even from hatchlings or capture and release. It never really works out in anything that I've ever heard of.
Well, the capturing live birds and turning them, adult birds and turning them out actually does work. It's, you can't pen raise birds and turn them loose. They just don't survive. But I think another reason why they're having such a hard go of it out there in East Texas is predators. You got so many coyotes, so many deer. I mean, not deer, but hogs and bobcats, possums, raccoons, everything else out there. They'll make
everything that scavenges the eggs to actually killing the bird itself.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And plus the habitat. I mean, if you think about East Texas, the leased land that's out here, what is it? It's timber company. So the timber companies, they don't care about the turkey habitat. I mean, which rightfully so. They're in a business to salvage and harvest timber. So maybe once birds are released in a particular area, which may have been great habitat at one time, well, now it gets bought up by timber companies. And what do? They go in there and they clear cut it, and now the habitat's gone.
Well, that and being predominantly pines doesn't give, a ton of,
That's true.
food options for them as well. That's acidic soil and, it's a lot of pine trees and not so much anything that other grasses and stuff like that could grow.
Yep.
Exactly. So your hog hunt, that was with your with your muzzle loader before we got kind of sidetracked.
Yeah.
I was wanting to hear.
That was a big detour. That was
Oh
a big
man,
detour.
that's
I apologize,
oh
guys.
no, don't
It's
worry
okay.
about it.
We swung all the way back around, guys.
That's what that's the point of these podcasts. We have a loose outline of where we want it to go, but it goes where it wants to go, and then we just drive it back into the lane and put it back down. And I'm quite certain it'll veer off again here in a second.
Yeah. So I was actually sitting up in the Lone Wolf, and I was, I got kind of aggressive. I was still deer hunting at the time. There's at least a 4.5-year-old buck. Looked at him last year on camera and or the last 2 years. So I think he's at least 4.5. Just a heavy bodied mature deer. Wasn't much in the antler department. I'm not even going to give a score because score doesn't matter to me. I chase mature deer. But I found out where he was bedding finally. And I crept in there and I hung my Lone Wolf and I hunted that day and kind of treated my deer lease as a public land spot, and kind of moved cameras around and tried chasing this guy. Well, it got to where it was, the wind started shifting and things were getting not really ideal for me anymore to hunt deer. And I still had a couple of weeks left for muzzleloader season. I didn't really want to blow them out. And I was thinking about getting down. And just as soon as I had, clipped on, I pulled up my backpack, got it off the hanger, and I pulled my little rope that I was about to tie off onto my muzzleloader and drop it down. I heard a pig squeal. And I was like, you know what? I was like, there's no way that was a pine creaking or something. It's like, that was a pig. And I kept hearing them. I was like, okay, there's a group of pigs up there. I was like, you know what? It's like the wind's perfect for it. It doesn't seem, after about 30 minutes or so of hearing them over there rooting around in the oak flat where I was hoping that the deer would come out of their bedding area to go to the oak flat. I was like, there's no way that they're going to come over here in the pines. It's like, I've never seen pigs on trail camera over here, so I know that they're not going to cross my area. But let's just get out and see if I can put a spot and stalk on them. I've got the perfect wind. And so that's what I did. I crawled out of the stand and sent the CVA Acura down on the rope and left my backpack up in the tree, left those Onyx up in the tree, left the Lone Wolf up in the tree. I was like, I'm going light as I can. That way I'm quiet as possible. And, I'm going to chase after these pigs and see if I can get it done on the ground. And after, I guess it was probably about an hour of stalking into these pigs, I could see them probably the last 10, 15 minutes or so of this stalk. And then it became the bow hunter in me took over. And I was like, well, how close can I get to these guys? I could take them right now, but how close can I really get? How good of a hunter am I? Let's see how much of my 3% Cherokee and Choctaw that I have in me. How much can I actually put to use, right? And ended up getting up to, about 15 feet, not 15 yards, about 15 feet away from this pig, 120-pound boar or so maybe. And he was the one that I wanted to take. He was the biggest one of the group. There was a bunch of couple of sows over there, a couple of Schultz over there, and it's a pretty decent sounder. There was probably 10, 12 of them in the group. But like I said, the wind was perfect, and I took one step too many. And I'd be dang if I didn't. Whenever I took that last step, if I didn't step on a little branch and that boar that ended up taking, he was completely facing opposite. He had his butt to me, and whenever I broke that limb with by stepping on it, it was like he came completely off of all fours and did a complete 180, and he was facing me. And this dude ended up taking off, and he ran right at me. And by the time I guess that he saw me bring my muzzle loader up, I'm glad that I bow fish because it was completely instinctive shooting. I've got a 3x9 Bushnell on my CVA, but I don't ever remember putting the crosshairs on this dude through the scope. It was, kind of threw it up and instinctive shooting. And And as he was running away from me and he saw me bring that rifle up and shoulder it, he kind of veered off to his left and gave me his left side, to his right, I'm sorry, gave me his left side broadside shoulder. And whenever I hit him with that 50 caliber Hornady, man, he just rolled. And he never took another step. And I was like, okay, mission accomplished. Let's go back and pick him up and bring him back to camp and get him cleaned up and put him on ice.
There you go.
Now, did you Cam Hanes him or did you quarter him out?
No.
I mean, did you throw him over your shoulder or?
No. I know what you mean. No, I ended up gutting him out, and but being that I was in a tree, I still have my safety harness on to use that muddy safety harness, and it comes with a suspension relief that's always on my right side, and then a like a little rope type deal that you can. I'm trying to remember what they call it.
That's the same harness you're running, isn't it, Trevor?
Yeah. I love my muddy, man. It's I mean, the elastic style. What do you call it, Josh?
I can't remember what it's called, and I probably I wasn't planning on talking about my harness. So
yeah, it's okay. I'll screw it up for you. So the elastic style clip on where it actually attaches to your safety.
It's like your fall lanyard.
Yeah. So man, that thing is awesome because it's stiff enough that you still feel safe. You don't feel the elasticity of it, but it's flexible enough that if you need that extra inch or two, it'll give it to you safely.
Yeah, so I was able to hook him up and basically hook him on to the two little loops that come with the muzzy or the muddy harness, for you to put on your lineman's rope or whatever as you're shimmying up the tree. Basically put it in reverse and just drug that thing out with my two little leg power.
Yeah, I did the same thing the other day with the rope that I actually use to kind of tie my pack to my lone wolf. Yep. I kind of run it backwards. I do pack on the lone wolf most times because I just like carrying the lone wolf by its straps. But I actually used that rope, so it was like, man, I didn't even intentionally bring that for that, but that's what it got used for.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
What kind of load are you shooting at that? I know you said you're running Hornady.
Yeah, it's the
bullets,
it's the Hornady SST. I believe they're 250 grain. It's 50 caliber, which, if I remember correctly, they're 50 caliber, sabots with a 45 caliber projectile.
Okay, are you running hollow points or the SSTs, or those are the ballistic tips?
No, the SSTs are the ballistic tips.
Okay. You running 100, 150, 200 in that muscle loader?
Running 100 grain white hots.
100 grain white hot.
How do you like the white hots?
They burn exceptionally clean. Again, I'm not promoting or sponsored or by either of these guys. I used to shoot whenever I bought the 13 point that I killed back in 2015 that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. I was running 777 pellets.
That's what I'm shooting now, and they are pretty dirty.
I was just about to say they're pretty dirty. They leave a lot of residue in the barrel.
I feel like I'm not getting a full burn.
I completely agree, and that's why I switched to the white hots, and it is night and day difference, to say the least, Trevor.
Yeah, and my only issue with the white hots is actually the availability to the product. It's probably just in the location that I live here in Central Texas, but I have one major outfitter that actually carries muzzleloader stuff in stock year round, and they don't carry white hot. Now the only other person that does carry white hot can't keep them on the shelves.
Yep. Well, there's a reason why they can't keep them.
yeah, absolutely. And I think I completely agree with that. And that's what CPA actually recommends. I think they're partnered, or they have some kind of affiliation with White Hot. So
I think they are as well.
What was the hazardous material shipping on that? To ship the white hots in, because I know you were looking at ordering some, but it was like $45 or $25 or something additional shipping.
Well, it was like $25 additional shipping, and it's like, well, I could just go over here and buy the 777s and not have to pay an extra $25 or whatever in hazardous shipping charge. Um, and I think that's one reason that a lot of people don't stock them here is, first of all, there's not as high as a consumer standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not as many people shooting muzzle loaders. And secondly, I think they have to pay, a fee each year for having to stock that hazardous material and to ship that hazardous material to their store. So I just don't think that it's worth it for them down here.
Well, yeah, because you have extended spike and doe season out there. I mean, there's still people deer hunting on non-MLD properties out there where you are.
Yep. That's a benefit of being able to go west of 35. Downside, if you don't own any land out there, it's outrageously expensive to get on anything. So, yeah, there's always a other end of the sword that'll get you.
Yep.
And I just want to make it clear to y'all's listeners and our members of East Texas Hunting Club, which hopefully they'll all be the same and everybody will be a part of everything here shortly. But we are. I think I can speak for you two guys as well. I mean, we're not affiliated with 777. We're not affiliated with White Hot. Whenever we give reviews of products that we use, it's because they work. It's because of what we found that hey, this worked better for me than this one, and here's why. We don't do this because we're trying to sell ourselves or a product. We're doing this to give you guys and girls the best information, the best product information that we can.
Yeah. And not that 777 didn't work, because it absolutely worked. And got to witness this. It's the minute details, and I don't think anybody likes cleaning a black powder rifle.
No, and like I said, don't get me wrong. The 13 point that's sitting behind me, I look at him every day, and I tell my wife, she always asks me, she says, so if you go to Kansas this year, and you kill a 160, is Palmer, the deer that's behind me, is he going to go away? Is he going to have to find a new spot? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I put my heart and soul into that deer. And until there's a deer that I have to work harder or means more to me, he's never leaving above my mantle,
Yeah. I mean, I could shoot a 100-inch deer. And if I put in a lot more work and it meant a lot more to me, then, I'm not big on full mounts, but that one would probably get full mounted before any other, 150-inch deer,
Yep. Completely agree.
Just because it means more to me.
Yeah. Yep. There's not a lot of memories behind walking out of the truck and stumbling down the path a little bit and, oh, wait, there's one, and pulling the trigger. I mean, granted, that's a great memory and all. That's a memory you'd all love to have, but there's not a whole lot to that memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Trevor, go ahead, Trevor.
No, I was going to say, now, Josh, I don't think we've really touched on this, and we kind of got wrapped up in a lot of stories, and we had a lot to say on this one, but I just want to make clear to the audience. So East Texas Hunting Club is a Facebook group, and it's a closed group that, you send a request off to an admin, which would be Josh, or I think he has a couple of other admins on that page.
Yep.
And do y'all ask a couple of quick questions in the application kind of deal?
Yeah, and it's kind of the funny thing. Like, so they're not really questions; they're almost statements. One of my biggest things was, I don't want, and my original impression was, I don't want this page to be filled with a bunch of sales items. But one thing that I think that differentiates East Texas Hunting Club from the rest is we're not a dictatorship. Yes, I was the founder of East Texas Hunting Club. Yes, Dwayne Tuman is an admin. Yes, Bubba James Minshew is one of my moderators that we just recently added. But we don't run the page. East Texas Hunting Club members run that page. We let these guys and girls make the rules and contribute and give us their their opinion on the way that they want to see the page run. So the only thing that we ask, our number one rule is no bashing other hunters. Their means, their methods, if you don't like the way that somebody's out there hunting, under a legal method, then either leave or don't say nothing. If it's legal, who are you to say that, you disagree? You could say that you disagree, just don't bash them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If it's a legal means, then you have no right to, say anything to them.
Yeah. Who are you to say that, okay, so, whenever my daughter turns old enough to where I feel that she's, ethically able to harvest a deer, and her first deer may be a 2.5-year-old 6-point that walks out, but he's 13 inches, and I should not have to fear a big group of people bashing my daughter for killing a 2.5-year-old 6-point that's 13 inches. He's a legal deer. And who am I to tell my daughter, no, you can't shoot him because he's only 2.5 years old, baby girl.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, who are we to question, the biologist?
Another person's trophy.
Well, and another person's trophy, but I mean, the biologists have set forth these rules that says anything that meets these requirements is not going to adversely affect the population. Going and killing a bunch of year-old basket racks and, shooting, does outside of doe season and stuff like that. Well, they've determined, that will adversely affect the population, so we can't do that. But if it's legal means, legal season, us as hunters need to stick together. There's a lot more people out there, who are either indifferent to or even flat out against, our passion and our pastime, that I think all of us should be more banded together and look out for each other rather than cut each other down. It's just sad to see, like you're saying, I've seen on different pages where, a kid kills a young buck, but it's a buck when I was that kid's age, deer. I would have been thrilled to kill, and they're like, oh, well, you should have let him go 2 more years.
Right. Yeah.
Or he looks like 12 7/8.
Yeah.
Or something exactly. That's what gets me. It's like, man, come on, just let the kid have his trophy. If it was an illegal deer and it got accidentally shot, I guarantee they're not going to post it anyways.
Exactly.
If that did happen, it happened, unfortunately, but
all the Pope and Young or Boone and Crockett official scores come out on Facebook. And that was another reason why I decided, hey, let's start another page. And now I have control. At the time it was, for the longest time, probably the first year or two, it was just me as an admin because I didn't trust anybody else to uphold the same values that I did and to help me run the page that I wanted to run.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'll give your group. It's definitely like a quality group of guys. You don't see the undercutting of other people's, choices and stuff like that. It's all,
Well, we're not perfect. I appreciate you saying that, Jeremy. But I mean, and I'll give your listeners and our members of East Texas Hunting Club, I'll give you guys fair warning, and your listeners fair warning, and our members again. We have really gotten to the point where I've never once cared about numbers of the page. It's always been about quality over quantity to me. And, at the beginning or the end of last year, I put out a post and I said, hey, I said 2018 is going to be different. I have recently blocked some of my personal friends from East Texas Hunting Club. Why? Because they love to get out there and sit at their deer lease or sit on their private property or get out on public land and sit by the campfire and have a few cold ones. And they're going to get out there and they're just going to start bashing people. And yeah, they're still friends. And we can sit here and talk about, what should have been shot or what our opinions are, outside of a closed forum. But one thing that I truly pride East Texas Hunting Club on is we have so many youth that are on that page that look to that page as guidance and direction. Who are we to say that, your tag that you bought, that you went and worked your butt off for to get set in the right place? Who are we to say that, you can't shoot that legal deer, or that legal deer that you chose to shoot isn't good enough. You know, it just baffles me that some of these other pages allow that to happen. And that's one thing that, you know, our slogan at East Texas Hunting Club is simply the best. I really think that we are. I mean, yeah, if you look at the numbers on, you know, number of members, we don't have the most members for a Texas hunting club group. But you know what? I really honestly do believe that we have the best. And I'm not saying that we're not, you know, that the occasional person doesn't slip up or get, you know, approved through the group and all they want to do is troll or degrade the post that other people, you know, decide to post, or the pictures that they decide to post, or that the deer or the hog or the bobcat or the wildfowl, oh my goodness, you shot a hen instead of a drake. Guess what? You're gone. You know, like we don't need that there. We have so much, there's so many anti-hunters out there that get, you know, they find their ways through the cracks, and all they want to do is spread their venom through the hunting community. And they love seeing us hunters turn against ourselves. And that's one thing as hunters, like, you know, both you and Jeremy and Trevor, you guys were alluding to a while ago. We are, believe it or not, you know, I think they said that, you know, U.S. wide, we lost 2 million hunters this year.
I heard that as well.
2 million hunters. Holy, how did we lose 2 million hunters? Get your kids out of the house, take them out in the woods, you know, teach them something, let them learn something. And I guarantee you they'll find much more enjoyment sitting out there in the woods learning about anything than they will sitting here watching TV or playing on an iPad or something.
Yeah, that's like that expression, was it tackle boxes, not Xboxes?
Exactly.
Yeah. I like it.
But that's the one thing I was trying to say is like, yeah, I'm not saying there's not any bad apples in the group, but the one thing I'll give you and your group of admins is like, you don't tolerate the bad apples. You don't, you know, I imagine, I don't know. I've never, you know, been on the receiving end or even, you know, seen it, you know, firsthand. I can see the remnants of it where someone's like, hey, Josh, or hey, one of the other admins, you know, get this clown out of here. And his comment is no longer there. But, you know, you guys have almost like a zero tolerance for, you know, any kind of
Black Panthers.
Well, there's that too.
My goodness. Okay, so here recently about the Black Panthers, that was a one. So there used to be just 5 rules of East Texas Hunting Club. You know, the number 1 rule straight off the bat is no bashing other hunters' means or methods as long as they're legal. And then that's now 1A. So now 1B is absolutely no Black Panther posts.
I love how that made it to number 1 though. That is it's oh my God. It blows my mind that even got 1 point whatever.
It's ridiculous, but and I would have never had a problem with people posting stuff on there making fun of the Black Panther theory here in East Texas, or the potential of a Black Panther here in East Texas. But the problem is with the Black Panther post, it always turns into somebody breaking rule number 2, which is, you know, keep your language at rated R at best. I mean, we're all adults and we say words that are may be considered as cuss words, but, you know, so rule number 2 is keep your language at rated R. You know, everybody should be grown up enough to be able to know what acceptable language is. And, you know, my mom, whenever we were growing up on that 7.5 acres, you know, right there outside of Cut and Shoot, that we had the 100 acres behind us that I grew up hunting. You know, my mom, she had posted in green paint with like a stick, or it wasn't even a paintbrush. I don't know what she used, because the letters weren't trim and proper, and it was bad, but it was no F-bombs and no GD. And so, you know, whenever I posted that on East Texas Hunting Club and I made the adjustments to the rules, you know, my mom's a member on that page, along with other countless kids, and, you know, even adults that just, me as an adult, yes. Do I use the language? Yes, unfortunately I do. But I'm old enough and know that it's not every other word out of my mouth is an F-bomb. You know, you should be intelligent enough to know that
there's a time and place for everything.
Yes. You know, and we have so many youth that are on that page. You know, I know Facebook has, I think, like a 13 or an 18-year-old requirement, but how easy is it to to go and say, okay, well, I was born in 76 and the dude was really born in 2006.
I'm not going to talk about things I was doing on the internet when I was 16 years old, clicking, you must be 18 years old or older to enter this site.
So it's just one of those things. Like I say I, and whenever I say I, I'm talking about, Dwayne and Bubba, my other admins that are on that page, and just the group in general. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see bashing other hunters. We don't want to see every other word in a comment, F this, F that, GD this, GD that. There's no reason for it. You guys should be intelligent. You guys and girls should be intelligent enough to know, you should be able to have a conversation without having those words in your vocabulary. I mean, you're typing them out on a keyboard. It's not like we're sitting here having a conversation like we are now. You're actually thinking about what your fingers are typing. So you shouldn't have to use those words.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
So we just try to run things. Yes, we do run them as a tight ship, but at the same time, I think that's, it's a small contributory reason of why East Texas Hunting Club is, quote unquote, simply the best.
Well, Josh, I do have another question for you of something that you had brought up to me. So you want to tell kind of the backstory of your Q-tip? Oh
man, I really have. Like I've thought about how I come up with that, because I swear to God, I've never seen a pro tip or anybody else use a Q-tip the way that I do. And I don't know if maybe I was in the bathroom one day and my wife was blow drying her hair, or I think honestly what it was is the whole, if you listen to some of the other podcasts that are out there, they all talk about using milkweed as a great windicator. Well, I don't find a bunch of milkweed out here. And whenever I do find it, it's like, well, I don't ever have a Ziploc bag on me in order to, harvest the milkweed to use as a windicator and keep it later. So what I started doing was whatever it was that sparked that thought. I now bring maybe 5 or 6 Q-tips into the woods with me every year. And I think Trevor, you said earlier that you use the muddy harness as well. Along with that muddy harness on your right-hand side, it has that suspension relief rope that's in its own little bag. And I put my Q-tips in that bag right there. And so what I do is, I keep 5 or 6 Q-tips. They typically last me a full season. And, whenever I get up in my stand or whenever I'm out walking around in the woods, I'll pull out one of them Q-tips and I'll pull off just the slightest piece. And because cotton is so light, any little bit of wind that comes around, you're actually going to get to see that Q-tip, that piece of cotton, float through the piney woods or through the oak flats that I choose to hunt. And you don't watch it for 10 feet or 20 feet like you would a powder or some of these new, windicators that come out that cost you $34, and then you have to buy the refills for them. You can go out to your local Brookshire Brothers or something and pick up a thing of Q-tips, and you always have a windicator with you. So you just pull off a little chunk of it and let it float through the air, and it will tell you exactly where your thermals are and where, if the sun's rising and things are starting to warm up. Well, guess what? Okay, well, they're going to start lifting up, and you can actually see that piece of Q-tip lifting up through the air, and then you start learning about thermals. If you're sitting up in a tree stand and it starts getting cold at night and the thermals, temperatures are starting to get lower, and you can actually drop a piece of Q-tip or a piece of cotton down, and that thing will just sit there. It won't go anywhere. You think that your wind is perfect, but once you actually get to see that piece of cotton float through the woods and you actually see the whole wind pass, that's whenever you start getting serious and you really start knowing, okay, well, this wind is good for me and this wind isn't.
That's a really slick idea.
I'm calling this new segment Pro Tip with Josh.
Well, I don't know about that. Like I said, it's just one of those things that I can't tell you how I thought about it or how I come across it, but like I said, it may have been my wife blow drying her hair. But
yeah, man, I like it. I like it a lot. And I mean, that's something that bet everybody's got in their house. And I mean, they're cheap enough to throw, like you said, 5 in your pocket. Does that last you the season, did you say?
Yeah, it
Because
lasted
you're
me
just
the
pulling off
season.
the tiniest little piece and
Just the
letting it float with the
tiniest
wind.
little piece,
Check it out.
just as long as it's something big enough for you to actually be able to see.
Yeah, and I
Um,
guess it's a little harder than a cotton ball. Maybe cotton ball get, dirty or bunched up or folded over and maybe not the best thing to use or wet and then get soggy, throw it out or whatever. But I feel like a Q-tip's a better way to go.
well, yeah, and they're, they don't like if okay, so if I took 5 cotton balls versus 5 Q-tips, you guys both hunt public land like I do, and you all know just as well as I do is you're walking through the woods, you always get back to your truck and now you got sticker burrs or whatever stuck to your clothes. Or if you're climbing up a pine tree, now bark is all attached to anything that you have that is
Sap.
maybe a little fuzzy or sap or whatever. So now instead of having this wad of 5 cotton balls, the profile, the size of the cotton is now reduced tremendously.
Yeah,
10, 20,
yeah,
1,000%,
yep,
just in size. And they don't get near as congested because, if you get a piece of pine bark or pine sap attached to the piece of cotton that you pull off, well, what's it going to do? It's going to fall straight down. So the cleaner that you can keep it, the better. And so
yep.
me personally, I feel that, the less volume that you have, the less that it has to accumulate scent. And, obviously the last thing that you want is to pull off a piece of cotton and now you're sending human scent down the downstream the downwind side of you. So it just, the Q-tip was the perfect idea, and it works phenomenal. You can watch it
Yeah, man.
for 50, 60 feet and know exactly where your thermals and where that wind is going.
Yeah, that's definitely a
Yeah,
great idea.
yeah. I think I'm gonna start carrying a handful of Q-tips in my pocket, like you said, in that muddy bag.
Yeah, that's definitely a winning idea there. Well,
It's come extremely handy, let's just say the least.
I can imagine so. It's nice having a wind indicator that'll actually, reach out that far, especially when you're, 25, 35 foot up in a tree and it's, you want to know exactly, where your scent is falling, where that scent cone actually is.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, speaking of tree stands, Trevor, I want to kind of go into our hunt that we did the other day out there at the little bit of public land close to my house.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, so I got it from here. I finally went and sat up in my tree stand and shot wood ducks like I said I was going to all season long.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. I mean, it was one of those things. It was just like, well, I've said I'm going to do this. I could go sit on that pond and shoot the same thing, but I don't think I'm ever going to try this again if I don't try it now. Like, my stand's already set up over there. I keep seeing them fly. And let me just climb up in there and see what happens. So, Jeremy, you went off and you threw your decoys, and I climbed up in the tree. And I was watching birds fly to you and hearing you shoot. And I was like, man, was this a mistake for me to go get in this stupid tree over here and just watch these ducks just out of range? And I'm sure you didn't hear me shoot. And I was like, gosh, man, I really hope I didn't make a mistake and miss out on the best flight of the morning.
Yeah, I already had a dead duck, and I've yet to hear you shoot. And I'm like, well, I've heard birds. And then about that time, another group of wood ducks came over. You opened up. And then shortly after that, I shot another wood duck. And then I hear you do some more shooting. And then I hear ducks come crashing into the trees.
Yep. So, yeah, I had a group of 2 work in. And I took a shot at one. And then that bird actually, I think I got, maybe a pellet in him or something like that. But he kind of separated from his buddy and then went and decoyed right to you, and you got that wood duck.
Oh, yeah, I hammered him.
You hammered that wood duck. And so it was almost like we were working in series trying to work these birds in, but it just ended up like that. So I had another group of 2 come across, and being in the tree stand, the tree canopy above me, right where these 2 worked on, was 2 too thick to shoot. I mean, dead overhead. So I waited till they exited the canopy, but by that time they were on the outer part of my range, but not quite sky busting them. But I did shoot one as they're flying away, and that's the one that crashed into the woods by you. But as I took that shot, I wasn't really thinking, okay, I'm 20 feet up in this tree, and they're on the outside of my range with me up in this tree. That bird fell at least 300 yards. I mean, and I had to mark it, like, okay, it's somewhere over there in that general tree line. And I was like, man, I may even hit Jeremy in the head with that duck, but
yeah, I'd say that duck landed within probably 40, 50 yards of where I was. Because, I mean, I heard you over there traipsing around after you came down to look for that wood duck. And we went over there and looked for a little bit. And we were like, well, we found feathers, but it's not sitting, right here. Let's go sit on the pond and hunt a little more. And managed another.
Well, let me back up here real quick. Yeah, I busted one more drake, and that was a good shot. He fell behind me, but across this creek. So at that point, I was like, man, I have 2 down birds, and they're not within, eyesight to where I can actually see them. So I better go ahead and just get down. Like, I'm not going to worry about shooting the third one out of here. I better go get down and look for these ducks. Tried to cross the creek, but it was entirely too deep right there. And so I just said, okay, let me go look for this other one, then I'll circle back around to this bird. So go and find that, like you said, traipsing around in the woods. And I'm like, I shout over to you. I'm like, hey, man, do you see where that bird landed, or do you hear it crash in the woods? You're like, I heard it. I don't know where it is.
I had a range of where it was because I never saw where it fell, but I heard it.
Yeah, like I said, it was about 300 yards away from where I actually shot, so I was just marking a general tree line.
Well, we managed to recover that bird, the one on the other side of the creek. We managed to have a good shoot, and the birds were actually surprisingly, decoyable and not call shy. We managed what, 3 wood ducks between us, or 4 wood ducks between us?
Yeah,
3 wood
ducks and 2 gadwall.
2 gadwall. So, and we quit hunting at 9 or 9:30.
Yeah, it was about 9.
Yeah, I mean, we probably could have hunted.
It started raining, and I needed to go grab that other bird real quick, and then you
had to finish moving.
And then so I had to go and finish moving houses, and I'm actually sitting in a closet right now because it's the only carpeted spot in my house. So I've been crammed in the closet this whole podcast, and I'm finally getting the heat tomorrow. So it's gonna be a game changer, guys. I'm actually gonna be able to feel my fingertips, and it's gonna be nice.
Well, at least you decided to move on the right time, and you're not moving whenever it's 18 degrees outside.
Yeah. I mean,
well, actually, his initial move was during the ice storm.
Oh no!
But yeah, my initial move was right before the ice storm, and I came to the house because I had off of work, and I ended up coming to this house and driving my way through that because I got off of work, and coming over here and unpacking boxes and organizing decoys and getting the boat all unpacked because I used the boat as the trailer, and it was a mess, and it was cold.
Well, alrighty, guys, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Josh, you got any final thoughts?
Man, first off, I want to thank you, Jeremy and Trever. Thank you guys for the opportunity. Whenever I first reached out to you guys, and we decided that we were going to move forward with this collaboration, I couldn't have asked for 2 better guys to join forces with. I really think that y'all's existing listeners are going to enjoy, being a part of East Texas Hunting Club because, like I think I was talking to you, Jeremy, and maybe both of you guys. Once we're not fully focused at East Texas Hunting Club, we're not fully focused on deer season. The page doesn't shut down once deer season ends. I actually posted the other day. I said, well, deer season's over, and we'll see you guys back, October 1st or whatever.
Oh man, I got your joke, but
it wasn't even 10 minutes later, and I had 10 or 20 different PMs. What the heck are you doing? Like since when did this start? You know, why are you only running the page through deer season?
Yeah.
So
I think that one blew up in your face a little.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And
I saw what you were trying to do, Josh, and I thought it was funny, man. And, I reacted to it. And then I saw a little while later, I was like, oh, man, he's got another post up saying that one didn't go as planned.
It blew up in my face, to say the least. And
you kind of Barney Fifed it a little.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I thought everybody would kind of get the joke, but apparently not. But what told me is that, hey, that tells me that our listeners are really concerned about keeping the page running year round. So I kind of got a little bit of information from our listeners, or from our page members, that this is something that they look forward to. I mean, it's not a deer season based page. I mean, we have so many waterfowlers out there, so many. Well, there's not that many turkey hunters out there, but I'm hoping to change that. And I've got some stuff in the works with NWTF that I'm hoping that we can bring some awareness and some habitat management and everything for the turkeys that are out in East Texas, because apparently there's a lot of guys out there and a lot of girls out there like me that want to get out there and shoot birds, but we don't have the habitat, and we don't have the numbers for the turkeys that we need in order to have a sustainable huntable population.
Yeah, actually, we shared something recently where someone from BHA was sharing that the National Wild Turkey Federation is getting ready to do some more releases and habitat work out there in East Texas. Yeah,
these guys are the NWTF. They're looking for volunteers. I mean, that's how they operate. I'm not affiliated with them again yet. I'll say that yet. But today I just went to Cabela's while I was down there visiting some customers today, and picked up a couple of decoys and some mouth calls and a box. And I've never turkey hunted before in my life, so I'm sitting here practicing for an hour and a half or so, watching instructional videos, and it sounds absolutely horrible. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad that I didn't take this straight to the field, But I wanted y'all's listeners to know, or the people that are listening to this podcast that don't know how East Texas Hunting Club operates. We're not 100% deer hunting. Once it's deer season, it shuts down. No. We want to hear about your white bass stories that are coming up right now. I had a buddy of mine that told me that his son's friend caught 150 white bass the other day in one of the local creeks. Why are they in the local creeks already? I want to hear more about this. Y'all tell me let's get these duck hunters and waterfowlers out there, and the exotics. On one hand, I don't really like it, but on the other hand, hey, it's great because people like me that like to go out and hunt exotics throughout the year. More high fence ranges are popping up in East Texas, and we're getting exotics in East Texas.
Well, and then there's also it's not probably the greatest thing for the habitat in the world, but there's always the possibility that one of them fences could go down, and when you're out there traipsing around a public land or on your low fence lease, there's a black buck or an axe that's going to show up, and
absolutely
there's no season on those things, and they eat great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just and that was really my only thought. I didn't want your listeners that are already established. I didn't want you guys thinking that we're strictly East Texas, because a lot of these East Texas boys and girls, I mean, once deer season's over and they get out of the piney woods, they move closer over there to where you are, Trevor. They go into Central Texas and South Texas and the Panhandle, and they chase after these exotics, and they go out there and they chase after these turkeys and waterfowl and feral hogs, even though we have plenty of them out here in East Texas. These guys are going all over the state, and they have a passion for hunting just like us. So
yeah, I've been seeing a ton of anglers starting to post more and more stuff out there too, going and catching big catfish. And I even think I saw like one catfish tournament kind of roll across the board at the end of muzzleloader, I think it was.
Yep, and the predator hunters, you're going to start seeing as spring, as the fawns start dropping, you're going to start seeing some more predator hunting tournaments come up, that are statewide, that are posted on East Texas Hunting Club. So I don't want everybody to think, oh my God, it's only East Texas, and I don't want to be a part of it. In our description it says if you live, hunt, or fish, hunt, whatever around East Texas, you've got to join this group. And now it's almost to the point where if you even remotely do anything in East Texas, you got to join this group.
If you've driven through
Absolutely.
East Texas.
If you've looked at East
hunting,
Texas on a map.
if you thought about hunting some of the great public land that we have out here in East Texas, you got to join this group. So.
Oh yeah.
All righty, Trevor. You got any final thoughts?
My final thought is for everybody to go check out East Texas Hunting Club on Facebook. I mean, it's easy enough to search and get on there and check it out. And I'm sure Josh will be on the lookout for all y'all when this podcast drops. So, give him some love, and go check it out. I'm sure y'all enjoy it, and stick around for the good conversations they have on there. And
one thing that I did want to mention on that, I'm sorry to cut you off, Trevor.
No, you're fine. Perfectly fine.
There's three. They're not questions. They're pretty much statements, and it says, something along the lines of, don't post your items for sale on this page. The reason why that's rule number 1 is because I've asked the members over and over and over again, hey, do you guys want to allow, for sale items to be listed on this page? And the overwhelming response is always no. We are a discussion-based group, and that's what the group is about. The next one is I don't have it in front of me, but it's basically don't no for sale items. Where do you live, and what do you like to do? Basically, just kind of giving me a little bit of information about the type of people that are going to be hunting or fishing or whatever that may be potential members to this group. If you guys,
I'm sure a lot of that weeds out some spam too.
It does, because I get so many. If I was actually looking at our blocked list earlier, we have close to 9,000 members that are active on the page, but we have probably close to 4,500 members that are either blocked because either they broke the rules or they're just spam people that come through. And the reason why those questions are there is you're either going to be declined and not necessarily blocked, or you're going to get in. If you have a bunch of people that you're friends with that are already a member of the group, or you have some pages in common with, local members of the group, then sure, come on in. But at least please read the rules. The number one thing is don't post anything for sale, especially firearms. Please do not even think about posting a firearm for sale on that page, because Facebook itself has an algorithm, or it's set in their algorithms to where they think, where the algorithm is set to 22 caliber, 308 or whatever for sale. And if they see that, they will potentially shut down the page for up to a week or permanently dismember the group whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we've worked too hard to come up with these almost 9,000 members and growing every day. The members really, really love this page, and I can't have it get shut down because somebody's trying to sell their 22 Henry that their grandpa gave them.
Well, definitely. I think anyone that comes on from us, we're all a bunch of, guys that follow rules and we understand. So I don't think you have to worry about that with our guys.
No, and like I said, it wasn't directed to the Cast Blast and Grill podcast listeners. It was directed to anybody that may be a new member of East Texas Hunting Club, or anybody that may, hey, just type in, Texas Hunting Podcast, and they come across our podcast here, and here we are. This is just a little small disclaimer. Not pointing fingers by no means, but I never want to give a reason and an explanation of the reason why some of you guys are getting blocked.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, guys, my final thought is both you guys said, definitely go check out Josh's group. It's a quality group of guys over there with great hunting discussion. It piggybacks off of the kind of conversations we have here. And I'm going to close it out like I always do, guys. Get outside, go enjoy it, go hunt, fish, do whatever you can. We're coming up on small game season now. We got 1 week left of waterfowl. I'm going to get after it hard this weekend. And
yes, sir.
Get outside and enjoy it, guys. Y'all have a good one.